Hi, second graders. This is Mrs. Trevax here. Let's get started just the way we would start normal class with our daily message. So, I'd like you to read along with me if you can. Dear second grade musicians, welcome to our first remote learning music class. I wish I was with you in person, but we will keep learning together in a new way. Today, we will continue learning about instrument families and we'll focus on the woodwind family. You will have a short seesaw assignment sorting names and instruments. I will give you a link to a site where you can explore more instruments. And finally, you'll get a bonus activity to do at home to make your own woodwind instrument. Sincerely, Mrs. Trevax. All right, let's get started. So, instrument families, as we started talking about last week, were a way that we can group types of instruments together basically by the way you play them or the way you make the sound or what they are made out of. So we're all familiar with the string family. You've just been playing ukuleles for the last couple weeks. So string family obviously are instruments that have strings. You can bow them, you can pluck them, you can strum them. That's the string family. The other one you're really familiar with is the percussion family because you've been playing some form of percussion instrument for years. So every time you played a tambourine or beat a drum or shake a shaker, those are all members of the percussion family, things that you can shake, scrape, or hit. We will talk a little bit more about woodwinds in a moment. And then our last family, the brass family, we will talk about next week. So, woodwind family. The key thing to know about this is they are not always made of wood. Many of them are made of plastic, they're made of metal. Some of them are still made out of wood, some of them used to be made out of wood. Um, Generally, there's a long, mostly straight tube. Sometimes the lower instruments have a bend in them just because otherwise you couldn't reach the holes. You blow over or into a mouthpiece for a woodwind instrument. So there's three ways. You can do it over a hole, like the flute, where you're blowing over the hole, into a mouthpiece with a reed, like a clarinet or saxophone. So a reed is like a very thin piece of wood. It's carved very thin, and you put it up against the mouthpiece. And when you blow into it, the reed vibrates and produces the sound. And then there is the double reed instrument that has two reeds rather than a reed and a mouthpiece. The two reeds are put together and they are tied together at the bottom and inserted into a small piece of cork with a hole in it, and then you stick it into the instrument. So that would be like the oboe or the bassoon. There are generally holes in the instrument that you cover or uncover with your fingers because the longer a tube is, the lower the sound is going to be. The shorter the tube is, the higher the sound is going to be. And by putting holes in there, when you lift up your fingers from the holes and open the holes, it's shortening the tube so that the sound can get higher. And as you put your fingers down, the tube is getting longer because the air has to travel further to get out. So let's have a look at a few of the woodwinds that we find in the orchestra. We are going to look at a site called DSO Kids. You can get to it by going to mydso.com slash DSO kids. This is the Dallas Symphony Orchestra for any parents who are trying to look this up, not the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, which is also known as the DSO. So we're going to go to instruments. I'm going to scroll down to the woodwinds. And let's take a look at the flute first. So in the flute is an instrument that you blow over the hole. So you actually hold it sideways. Some of you may have seen Mrs. Sharp play the flute. That is her main instrument. You might not know this, but Mrs. Friedman in the library also plays the flute. And you hold it sideways and you blow over the hole to produce the sound. And here's a quick clip of what it should sound like. So that is the flute. Next one I want to show you is the clarinet. You may have seen some of our third and fourth graders playing clarinet in band class. The clarinet that we use at school are made out of plastic, but the nicer ones that are used in the symphony orchestra are still made out of wood. And this is the one with a mouthpiece and a single reed, and this metal bracket up on top there holds the reed on, and then you blow over the reed and between the reed and the mouthpiece to make the sound. And here is a little bit of what the clarinet sounds like. That's the clarinet. Now we're going to go to the oboe. Yes, there we go. Oboe. So this is the double reed. So as you can see at first glance, it looks a lot like the clarinet. But as we look at the mouthpiece, you see that little skinny thing there, that's the double reed. So that's the two reeds. They're tied together with string here, and then they're inserted right into the top of the instrument. And then you put both reeds in your mouth and you blow on it, and both the reeds will vibrate and produce the sound. The last one I want to show you is the bassoon. The bassoon is the larger cousin to the oboe. This is also a double reed. It's quite large. When you blow into it, the double reed goes on the end of this metal tube called a bocal. The sound goes down the smaller tube here. At the bottom, there's a joint that connects it to the second tube going up. So by the time the air starts here, goes here, down, around, and all the way up, it's gone 9 feet. And the bassoon makes a very low sound. And here is what it sounds like. That is the bassoon. All right, moving on. All right, so there will be a lesson in Seesaw that you will go to, and it will be just labeling the instrument. It's going to have a picture of a flute, a clarinet, an oboe, and a bassoon, and you're going to have to just remember which one is which. And if you can, you'll complete that, and that will send that back to me. So I like to finish with just a couple things that you can do at home if you've got a little extra time. Please ask your parents before you do any of these to make sure that the things that you're using are okay to use. So for this first one, we are going to use a clean, empty bottle. Emphasis on empty, so don't just take a bottle of something and dump it out. All right, so I will play this video for you. Hi, second graders. I wanted to give you a simple demonstration about how you can make a sound that's similar to a flute. As you know, with the flute, we have a long tube that has holes down the side, and there's a hole at the top that you blow over to make the sound. Now, the flute goes this way, but the hole, you're actually blowing straight over the top. We can simulate that by using a glass bottle or a plastic bottle. If you're going to do this at home, please make sure you thoroughly wash the bottle, that it's empty, and that you check with your parents first if there's stuff still in that bottle. All right. So in my clean bottle, I'm going to just put it up to my bottom lip, and I'm going to blow over the top. Sometimes it takes a second to find that sweet spot. So if you don't get a sound right away, don't give up. Just try tipping the bottle, changing the angle of the bottle, and see if you can get that sound. Hi, second graders. I wanted to give you a simple demonstration about how you can make